Pregame.com.
NBA playoffs, how to handicap them. He's Vegas Runner. I'm Marco D'Angelo. We're taping on Thursday, VR. The playoffs, it's the final day of the regular season. Most of the positions are set. There's just a little bit of jockeying here and there. So we're going to give a couple previews in videos that we're going to do after this one. But this one we're going to do a refresher course, just a little primer on how to handicap the NBA playoffs. There's a lot of theories out there and angles, but I think this year more than any other year, VR, because of the way the regular season was, some of the things that we always looked at in the past, we got to be careful of. And I'll, extend on that as we go along. But first thing, and this will be something you can address for us, NBA playoffs, just like March Madness, you're going to get people come back to the table now betting that maybe haven't been betting, since college basketball stopped. Maybe weren't betting, since football, but now, these games are on TV.
Every day, pretty much.
So public money is going to become a factor again.
Huge.
That's your specialty.
The truth of the matter is, for any sharp bettor, what you're hoping for is that there's an influx of recreational bettors hitting the marketplace. Because the kind of money that makes the marketplace is pretty much a reflection of what kind of lines you're going to get. If it's all recreational money, then you're going to get odds makers putting out lines aimed towards the public. So what do? They inflate favorites. They inflate totals. They look to take advantage of the biases of these bettors to gain an edge and try to steer them to where they're getting the worst of it. And now some will say, well, why would they do that and give the wise guys the best of it? Because of the fact there's so much public money to compensate for that. Though they're willing to let a sharp come in and say, this line should only be 3, I'm getting +5, I'm going to take it, because there's so much public money willing to go the other way.
The books.
Yeah, and if anything, put the books to where they're heavy on that public side. That's why you got to also pay attention to a lot of the late moves in the NBA playoffs. Last year was a perfect example. I think at least 80% of all the biggest true steam positions took place 10 minutes before game time. What they were doing was sitting back and allowing the public to force the books into moving these lines to where they were knocked out of whack. Because they knew, the line was already inflated. Now all of a sudden, books move games on money. They move lines on money and respect. But when it's, playoffs, there's so much money. Public has the power to move these lines. So what happened was a lot of these guys were sitting back. They had a buy order. They knew we want to go, under 180, lines 178, 179. They were just sitting back waiting for that over money to come in from the public, and then they'd slam that under. So pay attention to those late line movements. And a lot of people think, oh, these are the sharpest lines. It's the playoffs. Odds makers had a whole season to get all their data together. Nothing could be further from the truth. The lines aren't sharp because it's the NBA playoffs. Lines are sharpest when the odds makers are creating a line towards a sophisticated betting market. Right now, the betting market's not sophisticated. And that's not to knock the public, you know what I mean? But the fact is, they're there just to look for action. It's a TV game. They're going to bet it. They bet teams. They don't bet numbers. And when the odds maker knows that the audience, the market, is betting teams, not numbers, believe me, they're not creating sharp prices. They're creating prices where they know going in, the public's going to bet this side and let them take the worst of it. That's what they're trying to do.
Now, when you get in here and you talk about, the one thing that you alluded to that was the biggest thing that I heard out of that is about the late move, coming in late. With so many outfits out there and being as sharp as they are, and the outfits, for the most part, a lot of times, they know and they can anticipate what the line's going to do. Do they come out early and filter a little bit of money out to jumpstart that? Let's say, okay, let's take a public team, the Lakers. They open up at 5. They come out, grab some of that Laker money at -5, knowing the public's going to piggyback and drive it up, and you might get that line to 6 or even 6.5, and then come big with the real money on.
You know where the benefit to that is also? the books, any bookmaker who's been doing this for more than one NBA season knows what team the public's going to bet. So now, like you said, you have the Lakers up on the board at -3, and all of a sudden, the outfit, the wise guy, the sharp, the professional you respect the most, comes in early and bets the Lakers. All of a sudden, you're running for cover, because now you're like, not only do I have the sharpest guy on it, but I know an hour before game time, everybody in line is going to be betting the Lakers. So now all of a sudden, instead of that 1 point move, that half-point move, you're willing to move it 1.5 points. You want to stop other sharps from betting it. You know the public's going to bet it anyway. So now all of a sudden, you're over-adjusting. So by sprinkling very little money early, because let's face it, they don't have too much confidence in their numbers, or else they wouldn't be moving them.
Right.
And because of that, it takes very little money early to make them move the line. And even better, what most people don't realize is, pretty much, and I'm not knocking them, but any betting syndicate I ever moved money for also takes action. Right. So what we were asked to do was edge off money that we knew was going to come in. If you knew they were going to bet the Eagles, we would bet the Eagles as soon as the line came out. Right. Now all of a sudden, by the time the clients are betting it, they're betting it 2 points worse than we already edged their money off at. So now all of a sudden, if the game falls in the middle, we cash our ticket from the book. You pay us, you're getting paid double and having no liability. And like you said with the Lakers, if I'm an LA book, as soon as the Laker line comes out, I want to bet Lakers. I want to limit all that liability, because I know my clients are going to bet me Lakers for an hour leading up to game time. So now all of a sudden, I turned in 10 dimes at -4, and I'm going to book 15 dimes at -6. Right. I'll take that little risk. I limited my liability.
And you're only laying juice on one of the two bets.
Exactly. They're paying you 11 to 10
on the other.
That's what happens. There's a lot of manipulating going on in the marketplace that people don't realize.
Let's talk about, everybody knows about the zigzag.
The theories, baby.
Okay, zigzag theory, something that's been out there. Now, again, because of the age of the internet, in webs and shows like this, things that were tried and true get killed because everybody talks about it. If you have something, I always think back, sometimes it's like, are we giving away too much information? And I know RJ's, probably cringing in his office right now when I'm saying that, but sometimes it's like, you remember that old commercial where you go into that laundry, service and it'd say, oh, how do you get my shirt so clean?
Right.
Ancient Chinese.
Yeah, you're right.
You never gave away the secret. But in sharing of information and talking on podcast videos like we do, it not only educates the public, but don't tell me that the odds makers aren't listening to these shows too.
Of course, they know the betting tendency. They know if it's out there that, bettors are starting to jump on this theory, jump on this zigzag, jump on these trends. There's NFL trends that people know. How about Monday Night Football, home dogs? Right. They're not money anymore.
Right.
For a 10-year, 15-year period, you can bet a Monday night dog blind. Now all of a sudden, your casual bettor that only bets Monday Night Football knows that going in. So the market's got to adjust for that.
So to say, we're not saying the zigzag
doesn't work. You just have to be more selective.
More selective. And I think and for those that don't know what the zigzag theory is basically in an NBA playoff series, the team that loses the first game, you're going to back them in the next game because you're playing for them to rebound and that. In theory, it makes sense because if you're the team that won the first game, what do you change for your game plan?
Yeah, nothing. You want to win again.
Yeah,
exactly.
But if you're the losing team, you're the team going back to the drawing board and making changes in surprises for the other team. So that's why I think that the zigzag works so well. But now if you don't have the value, if they're shaving the line,
exactly.
I think where the zigzag still works very well is when you get the lopsided win, because now the public handicap, because the one thing that makes the playoffs so popular and we say we get more public money is because every single game is on TV.
Yep.
And the bettors get to handicap with their eyes. They saw last game, they saw the Lakers win by 15, they're going to win again. No. The Lakers are going to lay more in this game because Vegas knows the public just watched that. They're not going to worry about the zigzag there because they know the people saw the Lakers blow them away. They're going to bet them again, and now you got value. So now you got the Lakers. They're a little fat and sassy after the big blowout win. The team that they just blew out is embarrassed. pissed off, whatever you want to use. They're making changes. And one of the things, especially in the first round of the NBA playoffs, and it always drives me crazy, they drag the first round of the playoffs out.
Forever.
Because, you have the
3 days off in between.
The opening weekend, you have half of them play one day, half play the other. And then you could be 3 days before you play again because they stretch it out.
Shortened season, they played more in the regular season. They're going to play in the playoffs.
Which is a great segue to the next part. One of the things that we always looked at, I've always said, is that when you're doing matchups for the series, and we're going to preview a couple series, you'll look and see what they did during the
season results, against each other.
This year, more than any other year, you have to take those games, you've got to pull the schedule up, the whole schedule, and see what situation they were in when they played, because a lot of teams were playing 3 games in 4 nights, 5 games in 7 nights, and scheduling, on the road for all of those games, or moving back and forth from home and away. Those are things that you got to look at, because if a team was in a negative situation, a lot of times this year, the coaches, juggled their roster. This is not a winnable game for us. Why play?
They tanked it.
Why play all out in just tire our guys out? They would rest the minutes and so forth. Great, Popovich for San Antonio did a marvelous job this year on resting his players and keeping them fresh. So you got to go back and look at the game situations this year. We've always said that in the playoffs, unders became more predominant. 2 reasons. One, Vegas has a tendency to pump the totals to the over because they know there's
bettors are afraid to bet unders.
Right. There's more casual bettors, so there's going to be more over money. And that gives us just a built-in edge with that. But then from regular season to playoffs, it's a different type of game.
Oh, yeah.
You play much more intense in the playoffs than you do during a regular season game. That is the only theory I'm a little bit worried about this year, to blindly say overs,
under.
Because what we saw this year, as we talked about some of these scheduling situations, when teams were in tired situations, they weren't shooting the ball as well. So during the regular season, the scoring was lower because teams were tired. Or scoring was lower because this is another thing that was happening early in the year, and sharp guys that saw it early cashed in, and then Vegas started to adjust. But at the beginning of the year, there were a ton of unders. And the reason being, coaches knew this scheduling. They were playing bench players more minutes than they normally would play them. Now you've got guys in crucial parts of games, instead of only being like 5 minutes here and there just to be minute eaters to give your guys a quick blow, they're having to play maybe 8 or 9 minutes in games to rest guys.
Bringing the scoring down.
It's bringing the scoring down. So if you look at the regular season scoring and they're going to be down, it's going to reflect the over-unders in the playoffs. And in the playoffs, these guys, they're actually going to be more rested for the playoffs because they're not going to be ever playing 3 games in 4 days in the playoffs. They're going to be rested.
And your stars are going to go 48 minutes. Not 48, but close.
So if they over-adjust from the regular season scoring that was down, we might not have that built-in edge that we have. So that's one of the things that I wanted to point out. And again, be smart. Use public perception to your advantage.
At this time, you have to.
Whenever something looks so dominant, a team plays so well, and then all of the pundits after the game, the talking heads, or I love when they chastise this team's
how bad
pencil this team into the finals, or this team puts it. That's the things you use to your advantage. Anything you want to add? Tips?
No, just that. The one thing you got to be able to separate and be honest with yourself. Why exactly are you wagering? If you're wagering for entertainment, God bless you. There's nothing wrong with that. Come to grips with the fact that entertainment costs money, whether you're going to a bar, whether you're going to bowling, whether you're going to a club. Entertainment costs money. So if you're going to bet for entertainment, it's probably going to cost you money. You have a chance to win as well, which those things you don't unless you may score at a club. But more times than not, it's going to cost you.
Sometimes you get a bad beat there when you get a gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly. But it's going to cost you some money. So if that's the case, go in knowing that this is my entertainment. I'm going to put some action in. I'm going to bet every damn game that's on TV. I'm going to throw in a parlay and enjoy it. Yeah. But if you're going to do it to try to profit, and that's really why you're betting, then be selective, man. Pick your spots. If the numbers moved on you, there's no reason to take the worst of it. There's another game tomorrow. There's another situation tomorrow. The biggest advantage that bettors have over bookmakers is the ability to choose and the pass. We don't have to bet a game. They have to take action. That's why they get 11 to 10, because they have to take work, you know. But you don't have to. So if you're doing it for fun, enjoy it. Bet every damn game. Every single one. Half times
Words to live by from VR.
But if you're doing it for money, man, be selective. Pick those spots and increase your bet spread. Just like blackjack, you're going to have an edge very rarely. But when you do, you got to bet big. So sit back, pick those spots in the NBA, unload, and you'll do fine.
All right. He's Vegas Runner. I'm Marco D'Angelo. Best of luck to you guys in the playoffs. Hope these tips we gave you today help you guys looking forward. We're going to preview a couple series. That's up next. We're going to start with Atlanta.
Bobcats, Lakers?
No, I think the Bobcats just barely missed out. You know, they went down to the final game of the season.
They didn't make it this year?
Yeah, no, maybe next year. But we're going to preview Atlanta and Boston up next.